The new Netflix animated film Bigfoot Family is coming out, and apparently all those photos of Bigfoot, they're actually real, and he's not alone. Bigfoot is now a big deal, so when he goes missing, his shy but tech-savvy teen son must take on an evil CEO to save his family and a wildlife preserve. This is a sequel to 2017's Son of Bigfoot. I didn't know that going in, and I haven't seen the first movie, but I'm not sure it would have made a big difference. Like I said, this is an animated film, and while a lot of animated movies may be directed at kids, there's typically enough in there to keep adults mildly interested, and some are even directed right at adults. But I don't think this one will keep adults tuned in, let alone older kids. Probably only those that are under 10 will find any kind of enjoyment. And that's really the fault of the story. The animation is decent. I mean, it's not Pixar, but I wasn't expecting that. There are some good textures that they have, and everything looked pretty good from a visual standpoint. But what we see in terms of some of those visuals, we've seen so many times before. We learned from the very first part of opening dialogue that Bigfoot has a family, which includes a wife and a son. And the son, he's our narrator. He lets us in on their world, including the fact that he and his dad can speak to animals. So of course, several woodland creatures then live with them. You know, to give Bigfoot that homey feeling of living in the wild, but still having the luxuries of hot water and toilets, because who doesn't want toilets? So I can totally go along with that part of the story because it provides an opportunity for some visual fun. The animals, though, they look like they've been plucked from a couple of other animated movies, namely Over the Hedge and Open Season. The likenesses are just incredible. I mean, they just feel copied and unoriginal. There are also a lot of visual tropes that feel copied as well, or at least they're overused, so when we see them here, they're not funny, they're not engaging, or even exciting. I mean, for example, we have animals behind the wheel of a vehicle. It's out of control, and as the vehicle is launched off the ground by some bump or ramp, the action goes into this slow-mo so that we can see all the stretched facial expressions and the chaos of the animals bumping through the front of the vehicle before the movie goes back into normal speed, and we see everything crash down and the vehicle slip and slide out of control. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. There was a point where some of the characters are on this minecart, and it's kind of a roller coaster action sequence. It's something, though, that you would see out of an old Scooby-Doo episode. But in this instance, it did look good, and it was a little fun. Now for the story itself. I mean, I mentioned that it probably wouldn't entertain any kid under 10. Well, from the basicness of the story, I really do think that's true. But also, because of the content of the story, it may lose a lot of the kids also. This is a very preachy movie, and the entire plot revolves around the environment and conservation. And I'm certainly okay with movies that have a commentary. I mean, I love them. And I think the medium is a great way to introduce ideas or dive deeper into concepts with the story. This one has no nuance, though. The message is in your face, and that's what really is driving the story. Instead of having a story with an environmental message, they took the message and tried to create a story around it. And even if you're fully on board with the message the movie is trying to convey, the execution, it just didn't feel effective. And instead, it comes across as forced. The writing is fairly basic too. I mean, it makes the dialogue feel very stoic and unnatural. The conversations that the characters have, or even their monologues or their expositions, it just comes across stiffly. And then that also affects the humor that they try to infuse. This story is easy to follow for younger kids. I mean, Bigfoot is asked to help some conservationists in Alaska. When he gets there, he discovers something darker is going on. So he tries to fix it and then disappears. So his family goes to find him. It's not deep story, it's easy. Now, just about everything to the story was told in the trailer. I think that's unfortunate, but I guess it's also time-saving. If you want to watch the story but don't want to have to invest the full 89-minute runtime, just check out the trailer and you're good to go. There's some slapstick humor, also some forced awkwardness as Bigfoot's son tries to express his feelings for a girl, and of course there are a few chase scenes to try and add some excitement. Overall, this isn't something I'd recommend watching. I mean, if you have small kiddos, they might find some enjoyment, but I also think that they can get bored during the times where there isn't some action or just animal hijinks going on. You're better off just watching Open Season or Over the Hedge for some funny and cute animal stories. And even there, with the simple storylines, they're much more engaging and entertaining. This could have been a more engaging and less preachy story and still gotten its message of conservation and the environment across. They just missed it. There's no sex, nudity, or profanity, but there is some animated violence. I give Bigfoot Family 1.5 out of 5 couches. So are there any good animated or kids movies that you've seen recently? I just saw Flora and Ulysses and I had fun with it, but let me know if you've seen anything in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.